Quiet on set.
Roll camera.
Sound speed.
Mark, please. And action.
Take 2, marker. Welcome back to Students in Focus. I'm Katie, student producer at the Utah Education Network. This week we feature the Film Apprentices from Spy Hop Productions and their recent work with Wake the Great Salt Lake, and shine the spotlight on Jenna Rasmussen, production supervisor at Walt Disney Animation Studios. The Film Apprenticeship at Spy Hop Productions is a semester-long program where high school students work with clients and earn a stipend for their work. You can also become an apprentice in sound, music, or design. The students we're about to feature worked with the Wake the Great Salt Lake art project. The goal of the project is to bring nationally recognized artists to Salt Lake City in an effort to educate and inspire both residents and visitors to identify possible solutions and take action on a local and national level.
The video was about a sledder who goes to their usual sledding hill during the winter, and they go to sled, but there's no snow, so they just end up tumbling down the hill.
It's supposed to kind of be impactful and say that, hey, there's going to be a lot less snow if, the Great Salt Lake disappears.
The purpose of the video was to spread awareness and generate curiosity among people our age to do some research to the lake and find out just how dire the situation is and how much help it needs.
Raising awareness about the Great Salt Lake, I think a lot of change has to come systematically, though we can do personal things.
We can show people how if the Great Salt Lake dries up, there's going to be serious consequences towards people who live in Salt Lake City and Utah in general.
Personally, you can use less water in general, shower for less amounts of times, water your grass only when necessary. You can contact people through email or a plain old-fashioned letter in the government, your legislators, your congressmen, ask them for more information about the lake and urge them to take some action at the legislative level.
Use less water, lawns use up a ton of water, instead just get plants that are native to the area, which also helps the ecosystems. You can reduce, just save in general.
Hey, fly. Join my team, Cowabunga. So much you, but we don't take shrimp. Join my team. Here's a hoodie for you. This one. Out of this one. Yes. Get out of here. Yes. Come on, guys, let's go surf. Cow a bummer, dude. These waves are looking mighty flat today.
The Great Salt Lake has been undergoing alarming evaporation since 2021, causing a rapid decline with severe environmental consequences. This depletion threatens the lake's ecosystem, contributes to air pollution, raises greenhouse gas emissions, and endangers local wildlife. Immediate action is crucial. By purchasing Salt Lake Surf Team gear, your support directly aids efforts to revive the lake, helping to reduce these harmful impacts and raise awareness of this urgent issue affecting the lake and our community. Be like Surfer Sam. Join Sam's surf team and make a difference with our stylish colors: seafoam green, salmon pink, or dark black. Together, let's bring life back to the Great Salt Lake.
We're looking for student-produced films and videos to feature on TV. Learn more at uen.org/studentsinfocus to have your media considered for an upcoming episode of Students in Focus. We had the opportunity to visit SpyHop Productions and catch up with a couple of the students as they were wrapping up their work as film apprentices.
I got involved with SpyHop through my friend who also got hired back in May. He is the audio mentor, and then he and I had a lunch and he was like, I got a new job at a place called SpyHop. And then he was like, well, if you don't have anything to do, maybe you want to come work with me. My first impression of SpyHop was it's a really, really unique place. And I thought it was really interesting how much creative freedom was kind of given not only to the staff, but also like all the students. And it was really interesting to see what an independent arts school organization could look like. The Film Apprenticeship is a 4-month-long semester where students come and they learn all the basics of filmmaking, but also go into a more of a matured and advanced course through it by taking on client projects and just more projects as a group that require elevated planning, elevated skills and things. And then there's a showcase that happens at the end of it where they get to show off all of their hard work. In this last film apprenticeship, we had 3 different major projects. We had a partnership with the Great Salt Lake Collaborative. We had an apparel company that we were working with called Happiness Loves Company. And then we also had a narrative short film project that didn't have a client attached to it. It was just more of a project that I knew these students would be into because a lot of people get into filmmaking to be able to create narrative stories. I think each kid was fantastic. They all ended up pulling through to the very end and was able to showcase something at the showcase.
All right, well, without further ado, we'll showcase our GSL. These are the Great Salt Lake videos.
Well, I took most of the film classes at my school, and I was telling my mom, I was like, I feel like I need a next step. I feel like there's something I can be doing more because this doesn't feel good enough, So she looked online and she found SpyHop. I would love to do anything in film. Just every aspect of it is so cool, right? Even making props, doing costumes, makeup, everything. Everything is so cool about it, right? But I was like, I don't know, because I've always wanted to be a director, but I was like, well, what if I'm not fit for it, right? But then doing the SpyHop thing and being on set day, it just felt so natural for me. I was the director for the Happiness Loves Company promotional video, which is a promotion of the clothing brand, so if you buy the clothes, then the funds will go towards helping the Great Salt Lake to help support the changes that it's going through right now. It was so funny because when I was on set the day of filming, I was just because I was kind of unsure if I wanted to do film stuff, but then when I was on set, I was like, whoa, this is exactly what I want to do. I just felt in my element, I guess. It was just so cool, and I got to tell people to do. I don't know, it was just very awesome.
I took some online classes at SpyHop over COVID, and then this is my first actual film class at SpyHop. I worked on the Great Salt Lake project as the director of photography, we had like 2 little videos that we're doing. They're like 15-second clips that we're gonna put on social media because we thought that was the best way to get information out to people. Our first video, both of them are pretty creative, but our first video takes like a more, it takes a sillier tone by kind of highlighting how there's gonna be less snowpack if the Great Salt Lake dries up. And then our second video is having to do with the dust that can come out of the lake and actually is coming out of the lake right now. My experience has been pretty wonderful. It's been really awesome to see how different roles within filmmaking, what responsibilities are within those roles.
I got involved with the Film Apprenticeship at Spy Hop because it had real stories with Lauren, and I like documentary films, but I'm much more of a narrative filmmaker kind of person, and she recommended this class, and I've done it twice now, if you count this class. I worked on the Misinformation Project. It was a narrative film that works as a almost Hitchcockian view of the way misinformation is being spread through media outlets, especially now. I worked as the director and screenwriter on it, and also did some editing work as well.
You know what? I should just put myself out there, because if I want to be director, then I want to be director, right? So I just put down director. It was such a cool experience because I got to bring everybody together. Like, it's like I literally was like I had nothing, right? And I got to put it all together.
I love writing. That's like my favorite part of the film process. So probably we had like a 4-day span where we were just really going hard at the script and getting it to be the best it could. And it's like my own little shell just working on a piece of art, which was fun.
I wanted to work on this project because I'm honestly really passionate about the Great Salt Lake. Prior to Film Apps, I knew a lot of the Great Salt Lake through school. And I know that it's kind of like not doing so hot right now. I'm just passionate about that and wanted to, be involved with possibly, getting the word out or helping in some way. I think my favorite part of working on it was just kind of being able to get what our client wanted and just like run with it a little bit. We got some like creative freedom, which was really cool to explore, but we still had to like stick to like a basis, which was also a good like limitation for us. So it's kind of like working within those guidelines was fun. It was just really cool to work with a team, and I felt like a good team, and I really got very close to the people in my class too, which was really cool.
As much as people want to make it seem like a director is the only thing in a film, like there's so many other roles that movies wouldn't be made without those people. And my team really made this movie.
I think it just provides a really cool opportunity to like get to know what you like and what you want to do and gain experience while you're doing it.
I'm just so grateful to be able to be a part of this, and I really think it's important for other students to be able to experience stuff like this because there's so many different classes, right? So you might not know how, because I thought I knew a lot about filming, right? But once I got here, I was like, whoa, there's so much more that I didn't know yet. And it's again, an experience that you can't get nowhere else. Yeah.
Our final piece is an industry spotlight with Jenna Rasmussen. She works as a production supervisor at Walt Disney Animation Studios. After getting her bachelor's degree in media arts studies from BYU, she began her career at DreamWorks Animation.
I first got interested in filmmaking when I was in college, and I was trying to decide what my major was going to be, and I've always loved stories growing up. I was a big reader, and then I danced growing up, so different forms of storytelling were always really interesting to me. And when I was in college, I was having a really hard time adjusting to a new phase of life. I was really homesick, and I saw this movie called Brooklyn with Saoirse Ronan in it. Highly recommend. And I went and saw it 4 times in the theaters because it was about this woman who immigrated from Ireland to Brooklyn, New York in the 1950s. And even though our stories were just totally different, I felt really understood by the movie. And the choice that she makes is to like invest in her new life and move on from her past. And that message really resonated with me, and I felt like it helped me get through hard days and decide to move into the future for myself. And because it was a movie and a story that impacted me so greatly, I wanted to be a part of that somehow. And so I decided to major in media arts at BYU, which is essentially their film program. And yeah, it kind of took off from there. So I got to my current role at Disney by getting hired on as a coordinator. Production management work is pretty linear. So you start out as an intern or an assistant, you get promoted to coordinator level, then supervisor, and then on until you reach producer level. That's usually the end goal for most people in production management. And so I was a coordinator at DreamWorks, and I jumped and made kind of a lateral move over to Disney, and then was promoted into my supervisor role. So after about a year and a half, I started being a supervisor. My current job as a production supervisor at Disney involves managing a team of artists. So animation is much like live action in that you have specialized people. So you have like, in the same way you have a DP in live action, we also have a DP in animation. But instead of holding a physical camera or directing a camera operator, it's a virtual camera. So you have an artist in charge of a specific part of the pipeline. So a lot of people know about animators because they're kind of at the forefront. They're essentially like our actors. They're moving the characters virtually. But you also have modelers who are like forming clay virtually and creating the characters and environments. You have layout artists who are in charge of camera work and cinematography. And then you also have lighting artists who do the other half of cinematography. So I'm in charge of managing a team of artists that has one of those specialties. So the team can be anywhere from like 10 people to over 100. It just depends on the size of your department and how much time you have to finish the work on the project. So my current role is on Zootopia 2, which comes out at Thanksgiving of this year. And I'm over the technical animation artists. And so they're pretty specialized in that if they're doing their job right, you probably shouldn't notice the work, but they're in charge of hair movement and cloth movement. And then any like special shapes. So if there's like a really squishy like pose, they smooth out any lines and make it extra squishy or jiggly, or it's pretty fun. So it's kind of a sillier department, so I'm really enjoying my time on Zootopia. An example recently would be Moana 2. It just came out at Thanksgiving, and her hair is huge. I mean, and it's curly and it flows in the wind. There's all these hero shots of like her standing on the bow of the ship and it's like flowing in the wind, and she's so majestic, and like that tells a story. It shows she's like taking care of her future and her community, and so it's cool to see that, you know, these small details that, you know, obviously matter in live action, but you have more control over them in animation, so they really amp it up to help tell the story a little better. When I was in school, I knew I wanted to do an internship between my junior and senior year. And so I just Googled every possible open internship application in Los Angeles, because I knew I was gravitating towards a studio system as opposed to like independent filmmaking. I love planning, I love structure, so I knew I would want to be in a studio at some point. So I applied to every internship in Los Angeles with the word production in it. I honestly probably didn't even read most of the descriptions, because I was just like, anything to get me out there for a time so I could network and like get to know the area and just the industry. And I got rejected from every single one. I probably applied to like 50 plus. It was crazy. And I heard back after getting all of those rejections from a recruiter at DreamWorks, and I don't even remember applying. I probably thought it was live action, but she saw my resume. She was a BYU alumni, and she was like, I just had a feeling I should get you on the phone and talk to you. And we clicked really quickly, and we're still friends to this day. And I knew nothing about animation, but I was like, I would be so crazy not to take this opportunity. And I feel really lucky because I know how rare an opportunity like that is, you know, looking back. So yeah, so then I went and I just kind of took the opportunity and tried to make the best of it, and just fell in love with animation during my time that summer. My one big takeaway from my time as an intern specifically at DreamWorks was that work can be really fun. And I just always thought of my job post-grad as this cog in the machine, you know, like you show up and it takes a long time and you're sitting in a cubicle like hunched over, and everyone there was so committed to having a great time at work. And I had more fun at work than really in most experiences in my life. And so I think it's a combination of, we didn't take it too seriously. Like at the end of the day, when things are tense or people are arguing or frustrated with each other, like we're making a cartoon about troll dolls. You know, it's so silly. Like sometimes you have a meeting all about, you know, a dumb joke, a fart joke sometimes, you know, so you can't take it too seriously when you're in that type of content. So I think it allows that level of fun and enjoyment, but also the people that I worked with were really committed to making sure that everyone had a great time and felt welcome, and I don't know, tried to inject something exciting into every day. So that was a big takeaway. I felt like I learned that work doesn't have to be what it had always been painted for me in my life. It could be something that I really enjoy and look forward to going to every day. A typical workday at Disney varies a lot depending on if I'm in production or if I'm in pre-production. I like to meet every day with my team in the mornings to strategize how to handle the day. So I have a team of production coordinators or assistants. In my current role, I will have a coordinator and an assistant. So I like to meet with them and our department head every day to look at the schedule, see what needs to be done, who's going to be covering what, who's taking notes for what meetings, who's setting up for different reviews. So that starts the day. And then throughout the day, it's kind of a mishmash of reviews and meetings to strategize technical issues. I meet a lot one-on-one with my artists or other production management people in the company. And then any like studio-wide meetings. So a review, for example, we usually structure our days around our reviews, and that includes our artists will submit some of their shots. So artists will work on individual shots. When they have a pass that they want feedback on, they'll submit it to us to show to whoever their approver is. So for my current department, that would be our visual effects supervisor or our production designer or our head of department. And they give creative feedback. We look at it on a big screen that mimics a movie screen, so you can see it like in real detail and in the size that you would see in a movie theater. They give feedback, we take notes, we deliver them to the artists, and then they go back and they address those notes. So our days are largely structured around those reviews. In other departments, that review might be with the director, it could be just with the production designer, it could even be with like the chief creative officer at the studio. So it just depends on what your department is and who your approver is, who's kind of in charge of having jurisdiction over that creativity. But it's my job to kind of facilitate that review process and then make sure everything gets passed on to the artist so they can address those notes in a timely manner and do their work. And then everything in between those meetings is communicating with other departments, you know, managing calendars, tracking requests from department to department, and making sure everyone's getting along, which doesn't always happen, but we try to make it work. I think at last count, and we just started production and it will ramp up to way more, but I think at last count we had like close to 200 crew members, and it will probably get, I mean, it kind of depends on the project, but it'll probably get up to like 350 or 400. So yeah, it's a pretty big crew, which is fun. A good production supervisor balances between leading with compassion and also being really organized. So I kind of think of my job as, I've said it a couple times, like facilitating the creative process. So that means allowing my artists to do their best creative work and giving them the mental space, the emotional safety to be able to brainstorm and shout out ideas and not feel like they're getting shut down by anyone in the room. So I help, you know, smooth over or manage any interpersonal issues. But I also think that facilitating creativity comes with parameters. So I'm the one who communicates their deadlines and makes sure they know what they're needing to do in what capacity, because I think restriction inspires creativity. Obviously, I'm thinking more about the schedule, but also creatively, like if you have a box and you have to draw within the box, you get really creative on what you can fit in the box. More so than if you just had free reign to draw all over the page. So I kind of think of my job as both making sure they have the space and the freedom to do their best work and to feel inspired and to feel like they can bring their own ideas to the table. but also so that they can do it in a timely manner so we can get enough done and stay under budget and actually finish the movie. So I kind of balance those lines, so I think that's what I strive for, and I think that's what makes a good production supervisor. My favorite thing about my job is the people that I work with. I felt this at DreamWorks as well. The animation industry is so small, but there's a level of excellency that exists in these like bigger studios because everyone has worked really hard to get where they are, and everyone grew up on these movies. Everyone's very passionate about the work, and so everyone really pushes each other to do their best. And when someone messes up or maybe isn't doing things as well as they could be, you know, there's always someone to be like, hey, why'd you do it that way? You know, and so I feel really motivated by the people that I work with, but they're also so kind and really fun. So I just feel like I'm surrounded by people who are really inspiring to me on every level. Like they're great professionals and just like stewards of their craft, but they also are just amazing people, and I like them a lot, so I really like the people. My advice to students who are thinking of pursuing a career in the film industry or media and entertainment under any capacity is to really figure out your why behind what you do. So I mentioned, you know, I've been impacted by stories my whole life. They have gotten me through and continue to get me through my hardest times, and I really believe in like the world-changing power of a good story. It is part of who I am. So when things are really hard, which they are, you know, everyone goes through hard things, but especially in your career, I'm able to kind of rest back on that and remember this is why I do this. And even though I'm in the crucible right now, I know that the end product will be really, you know, special, and I get to share it with people. And even if the end product isn't that great, I can move on to the next one and start over again. So whatever that looks like for a student, I think finding that so you have a resting place when things get hard, because things will get hard, and that will propel you through those tough times. And that's true for any industry, any job, but I think especially in a creative industry that is really tumultuous and can be really like soul-sucking, it is especially important because you will also have people who tell you to like get a real job, and some people, we just can't do that, you know? It's like we care a lot, and you want to pursue what you want to pursue. So just find your why and trust that you're the only one who really knows why you do what you do, but that's important.
Thanks again to Jenna for her amazing advice and for coming on our show. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Students in Focus. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next episode. And you can check out past episodes at UENVideo. And don't forget, you can submit your student projects to be featured here on Students in Focus. See you next time.